Save Unit 2, Awkward and Neutral Postures. There are four main risk factors that can result in work-related musculoskeletal disorders: heavy lifting, awkward postures, repetitive activities, and prolonged postures. In this unit, we'll focus on awkward postures and show you how to minimize them by using neutral postures. Key point: to remember these risk factors, think of HARP, as in don't harp about back pain, use ergonomics. The spine has three natural curves that make it strong and sturdy. When you work, sit, or stand while maintaining these curves without bending or twisting, you reduce fatigue and minimize the chances of injuring your back. Neutral postures are postures that put the least amount of stress on the muscles and joints. Notice that this Mason is standing tall with his arms relaxed by his sides. This is a neutral posture for his neck, back, shoulders, arms, and legs. Obviously, you can't stand like this all day, but whenever you can, use neutral postures. Even if you return to neutral posture only a few times a day, this will decrease muscle fatigue and your chance of an injury. Key point: regularly shift to a neutral posture to minimize your risk of being injured. For every part of your body, there's a safe, functional threshold of postures. As long as your body stays below this threshold, you minimize your risk of being injured. In other words, you are working within the margin of safety, also called the green zone. However, if your body becomes stressed enough through cumulative trauma, you go above this region of safety and become injured. Masonry tasks can't always keep your trunk and limbs in neutral. For example, you may not be able to use a safe posture when working in a tight space. However, the more you use neutral postures, the more you spare your body, so be aware and shift into neutral whenever you can. We'll talk about risky postures as caution zones, since that's a good way to know when your posture might be harmful. Think about these caution zones whether you are laying brick, cleaning your work area, or using tools. For the rest of this unit, green means the posture is safe, while yellow means use caution. Non-neutral postures are called awkward postures. What are awkward postures you find yourself in? Awkward postures take you out of the margin of safety, increasing your chance of injury. Now let's learn about neutral and awkward postures for different parts of the body, starting with your low back, the most important place to use a neutral posture. There's a sweet spot about halfway between rounding your back and flattening your back. That's when your back is in a neutral, safe posture. It's also where your back should feel the best. So let's practice it. Everyone should stand up to practice. So what are other examples of awkward back postures? These include bending your neck or low back too much, twisting or combining bending and twisting. Forward bending more than 30 degrees is a position that overstretches back muscles and can lead to fatigue and damage. This is a yellow zone posture. When neck and back muscles are overstretched by awkward postures, they tighten up to compensate, and that makes us feel stiff. Key point: try to keep your head over your shoulders and your trunk over your hips. The effect of these awkward postures is worsened when you are bending forward repeatedly throughout the day. Take mini breaks, stand up, and bend backward. Another yellow zone for your back is twisting your trunk when your feet are planted. Key point: your nose should follow your toes. Bending in combination with twisting, like this new apprentice is doing, is even worse. Key point: don't bend and twist. Bending forward less than 30 degrees is safer for your low back and is in the green zone. Look at the picture and practice bending about the same amount. Another way to work without bending forward too far is to squat. Squatting spares your low back but should be alternated with bending so that you don't overuse your knees. And remember, combinations of awkward postures compound your risk.
I don't always use awkward postures, but when I do, I only use one. Stay neutral, my friends.
Which Mason is in the worst posture for his back? Record your answer in your workbook. The Mason standing in neutral is in the green zone. The Mason standing and twisting is in the yellow zone. The Mason who is twisting and bending at the same time is in the worst posture. Combined motions like these cause the most damage to your back. Now let's talk about neck postures. Your head weighs up to 12 pounds, which is about the same as a bowling ball. When you work with your head bent forward, it isn't balanced over your trunk and gravity is more able to push it towards the ground. Just like with the low back, having your head bent forward is a yellow zone posture that overstretches and fatigues the muscles in the neck and upper back and pushes you to the edge of the threshold of safety. After a few hours, these muscles might begin to feel stiff or painful as they become fatigued. This is the start of a cumulative trauma injury. Let's discuss shoulder postures. The shoulder is in a neutral posture when the arms hang at the side of your body. Of course, you can't work like this, just like a baseball pitcher can't do his job with his arms always in neutral. Baseball pitchers have a coach to hold them to a pitch count and keep them in the green zone. Throwing too many pitches and using poor throwing mechanics puts the athlete in the yellow zone, increasing risk of injury. As a Mason, you need to be your own coach and be aware that as you start to have discomfort in your shoulders, you are approaching the yellow zone. So when this happens, shift to neutral. Now we'll talk about awkward shoulder postures. These include working with your arm fully extended, reaching high above your shoulders, and the chicken wings posture. Think of a compass. When your arms are by your side, we say they're at 0 degrees. If you put your arms out in front of you, it's at 90 degrees. This Mason's left arm is at 0 degrees. His right arm is at 90 degrees. Most of your tasks require you to have your arms between 60 degrees and 120 degrees. This region is called the pinch zone because it can pinch your rotator cuff muscles. Working with your arms close to your body is the safest. Whenever possible, try to keep your arms close. Now let's try an activity to illustrate the effect of awkward shoulder postures. Working with your arms overhead is also hard on your shoulders and a yellow zone posture. Although not in the pinch zone, the shoulder becomes weak and fatigued in this position. So, whenever you can, modify your work to keep your shoulders lower than 120 degrees, for instance, by adjusting scaffolding height. The final awkward shoulder posture is called the chicken wing posture. Baseball pitchers end up in this position during the follow-through. This stresses the rotator cuff and can actually tear these muscles. Try varying your shoulder position to reduce the number of chicken wing postures. Whenever you find yourself working with your arms extended straight out or overhead, try to work like this bricklayer with his arms below 60 degrees. This minimizes the stress to the shoulder joint. Which bricklayer is in the least awkward shoulder posture? Record your answer in your workbook. The correct answer is B. The Mason on the left is reaching over his head. The bricklayer on the right is in the chicken wing posture. Although this posture is commonly used to lay block, shift to neutral frequently to get out of this pinch zone. Finally, let's talk about the wrist. Maintaining neutral wrist postures means keeping your wrist at about the same level as the back of your forearm. Did you have wrist pain when you first started laying brick or block? That's normal when you first start to use muscles in a different way. Working with a neutral posture will minimize the daily stress to your wrist. Awkward wrist postures include bending your wrists excessively forward, backward, or to either side. Holding your wrists bent in any of these positions for a long time could injure tendons or nerves in your wrist. Neutral postures are also important with other activities. For example, when you check your phone, you put your neck into an awkward flexed posture. When you slouch while driving, your back rounds, stretching the muscles and losing your neutral back posture. So, to help prevent injuries, sit back in the seat and use a low back support to maintain your natural curves. Otherwise, your muscles are prone to injury before you even start your workday. Remember, neutral postures include standing with arms close to sides and below your shoulders, keeping your head over your shoulders, keeping your trunk over your hips, keeping your wrists flat. Key point: whenever possible, shift into neutral. What part of the Mason's body is in the worst position? Record your answer in your workbook. The correct answer is A, the low back. The Mason is in a stooped posture. This is in the worst position for the low back because it overstretches the back muscles and places stress on the discs, pushing them backward toward the spinal nerves. It would be better if he could use a wide stance and partial squat. What part of the Mason's body is in the worst position? Record your answer in your workbook. The correct answer is B, his shoulders. This chicken wing posture places a great deal of stress on the shoulder joint and should be avoided whenever possible. Always try to keep the elbows close to the body and keep work between the knees and chest. What part of the Mason's body is in the worst position? Record your answer in your workbook. This is a trick question. Both the shoulders and wrists are in poor positions. Can you say why? Masons commonly use awkward postures of the back, neck, shoulders, and wrists. Other areas, such as knees and elbows, are also important. As a Mason, your work will always require you to use awkward postures. Try your best to minimize these postures and frequently shift into neutral. Especially try to avoid combinations of awkward postures like bending and twisting. While changing your posture is one solution, ergonomically designed tools, equipment, and work practices are even better and should always be your first choice.